What's up, folks? Welcome back. It's Monday. We're indulging in a little bit of mayhem today. Back from Atlantic City Open. What an insane weekend that was. Tons of streams going down between myself and Wargames Live. We had two double streamed at the event, which was super cool. It's always cool to stream like right alongside Joe, which is cool. And being able to showcase like all of the different sides of that event is pretty sweet. We had some good games over the course of the weekend as well. We're going over the Warhammer Edmonton Open. That's what we're doing today, folks. That's the idea. That's what's going on. We're a little bit later than normal, largely because the weekend was a lot of work. Unfortunately for me, I didn't get out to do Best Armies in 40k until about 10 or 11 p.m., which meant that I went to bed this morning at like 6 a.m. and then had to come home and reset up my whole rig. So unfortunately, no time today to launch earlier, but we are here now and we're talking about the Edmonton Open, which I'm excited about. So I talked about it a little bit on my Best Armies video this morning, but this was, I keep wanting to call it a US Open, but it's a Canadian Open. It's a instead of a USO, it's a CAO, I guess. Instead of USO, it's cow. Can we call it a cow? The cow Edmonton. The Edmonton cow over here. But I guess they're just calling them Warhammer Opens now, which I kind of like. So WHO, I guess. To be a little bit more egalitarian. We're not necessarily restricting ourselves to the US. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. Scary over there, yeah, keeping up Drukhari win percentage. I know. How does he do it? It's crazy. It's crazy. WOE? Whoa? Whoa is me. Oh, because it's Warhammer Open Edmonton? But you would you say like whoa? Like what if it was somewhere else, right? Like, I don't know. Like Berlin. Whoa, Berlin. Whoa, London. Whoa, Paris. Whoa, Algiers. Yeah, would you do that? Whoa with an H? Yeah. Who? We can call it who at Warhammer Open. WHO. Who? Who? I love that. All right, that's it. That's where it's at. We've solved the problem, chat. Well, thanks everyone for coming and hanging out with me today. Also, big thanks to everybody who hung out over the... Is my music really loud, by the way, folks? It looks like it's super loud. Oh, I just have my volume down. That's why. I couldn't hear it. Is that better? Does that look better? Oh, audio's been weird today. But that's okay. Above the music, yeah, it looks like it was like kind of, I don't know, it's extremely loud. Well, I think we fixed it. Yeah, so what I kind of wanted to do was take a peek at, for those who don't know, for the Warhammer Opens. Oh, now you can't hear it at all? Oh, no. All right, let's bump it up a little bit. How's that? Is that good? I do feel like I'm really loud. Somebody mentioned over the weekend that I was really loud. I don't know why. Usually this microphone's very quiet. I don't know how it just decided to be loud all of a sudden. Audio blows my goddamn mind, chat. I cannot do it. I've just internalized and accepted the fact that sometimes my audio is going to be scuffed because I have no earthly comprehension of how this technology works. It's wild. So, for those who don't know about the Warhammer Open events, is that what they do is they go through 4 rounds of 40k within a Swiss system of all the players. So 276 players get put into a big pool, 257, excuse me, and then they play against each other Swiss style. So winners play against winners, all that stuff. After that occurs, they take they break the players down into brackets of 16. Those brackets of 16 get locked within that placement. So you can see over here, a poor Michael Tobin, excuse me. I'm sorry, Michael Tobin. Things did not go well for you. You won all your 4 games, which means you got put into bracket 1. You then are only playing against other people in bracket 1. For the rest of the event, however, you are locked into top 16. So if you drop a game early, like these poor folks down here who went 7-1, but are only getting 20th place, then you are relegated to a lower bracket. So basically, like, bracket 2 is essentially everyone who lost a game in the first 4 rounds. Looks like we have even a couple more X1s in that. But what it means is that you can create a situation where you have lots and lots of players who go X1 at a Supermajor. They go 7-1, but they only score like 30th place, even though other players who might not even show up for the remainder of the 4 rounds are able to score top 16. It's a weird system. Personally, I don't like it. I understand why they do it. They do it so they can prize out top placers in individual events at the end, so that you can, for example, lose a game early, but then win all your other games in order to place highly in your bracket, and then you get additional prizing. So there's an incentive to keep playing. I do think it also sort of robs an incentive, because, like, if you're Kylie Burke over here, who went 2-1 in the first 3 rounds and then won 5 consecutive games of 40k, you cannot beat all these people who went, 5-3 or whatever. Which is, I don't know. It feels kind of bad, but it is what it is. I'm not here to talk about that too often. But yeah, it is. I don't know. It's very Nova Open. This event, this system originally started at Nova Open. I think I'm biased against it because I played one Nova Open in like 2019, like ages ago, and I was competing for top Tyranid with one other guy. Tyranids were fucking trash at the time, so it was like me and one other dude. Because of tiebreakers, he got bracketed like 1 space above me and then dropped the tournament. So he went like 3-1-5, I think. And I went like, I don't know, I did okay. It was like 6-2 or 5-3 or something. But I placed like 3 spots below him because I was in one lower bracket. I was in like bracket 3 or 4, and he was in the next highest bracket. And I lost best infection because of that. And I was like, okay. I wholly admit that I was in a position to get kind of screwed over by this ranking system, and I think it colored my opinion on it. But yeah, I don't know. It's from the outside looking at it is very strange. But I imagine when you're there, basically giving yourself an opportunity to get another win, even if you lose in the early game or in the early rounds. I think is kind of interesting. And also it means that, like, if you go 4-0, you sort of like achievement unlocked, and you've locked yourself into a top placing at a big Supermajor. So like these folks who did win their first 4 rounds are I don't know, they're kind of home free. They can kind of do whatever they want. So it takes a lot of the pressure off their games potentially. If you go 4-0 and then lose the 5th round, you're like, that's all right. We're here for practice, I guess. Which is we probably don't see any people like just cutting out here, I think. Or at least I don't know if those people they get reflected here if they cut out, but I don't know. Anyway, folks, let's. So what I want to do is talk about some of these lists that went X1, because I don't think they get a lot of. They don't get a lot of showcase, and there's a lot of really cool technology inside there. So there's all these little lists in here that I want to talk about. First of all, we should give a shout out to John Lennon. Undefeated. I talked about his list over the course of the weekend. It's a modified Coterie of the Conceited to run, be focused more heavily on Mauler Fiends in order to save points on the now more expensive Demon Princes rather than taking all Demon Princes. Occasionally, we saw 1 to 2 Mauler Fiends in some lists, and he's basically just swapped into that archetype in order to open up some space for heavy hitters that were upcharged in the data slate. So a very reasonable reorientation of a sort of classic Coterie of the Conceited list. We didn't see anything weird like Peerless Bladesman or Carnival of Excess like come out of the woodwork, but it does make a lot of sense. Let's talk about some of these other results. Jake Chalmers here with Chaos Demons. Apparently BCP has logged me out. I literally just registered for an event like 20 minutes ago. Best Coast Pairings. Why are you like this? Okay, we are back. God damn it. All right, we're off to the races already, chat. What the fuck is this? I have not looked at this list beforehand. BCP on a hot streak. I know. I'm a little worried for BCP. I'm definitely, as someone who's like, I don't know, kind of like grown up on BCP. BCP was like my first online peering app, so I was like, whoa, this is amazing. When I went from playing Warhammer, War Machine and Hordes, which is all paper. Everything was done on paper. Internally, for like official events, they had like their own internal software that they didn't let anybody else use, because I bet it was like kind of a piece of shit. But for basically all IRL events, everything was done by paper. And going to 40k, being like, we have Best Coast pairings, it's all automated. I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is the greatest app ever. But there's a lot of discourse about the community moving away from it, because it is a bundle of spaghetti code, and not like the sexy kind of spaghetti code where you and someone else can like slurp it up on both ends. It's the kind of spaghetti where like it gets tangled in the middle, and then when you try to like pull one spaghetti strand, it just snaps. And I think that's kind of a problem with it. So I don't know. I would love to see them resolve their issues that they're having and kind of like retake the market. But also, I will disclose my biases. It would make if the community wholesale splintered into multiple different tournament apps, like New Recruit has its own version, Tabletop League or something, whatever it's called. It's like another one. Then it would be more difficult for me to collect stats, so I would be sad. But I don't know. We'll see. Bird's Nest code, indeed. Anyway, folks, maybe they can fix at least it constantly logging me out. That's the most annoying one. So this list is fucking wild. There are 4 great and clean ones here. No, excuse me, only 3. But one of them is Ed with the Endless Gift. So that's cool. He's basically 2 great and clean ones stapled together, essentially. Plus a Rendmaster on a Blood Throne, but no Khorne characters. Just literally blood letters, maybe? Blood Crushers. This list is insane. What is happening here? So it's double GUO, 1 with Endless Gift, Bloodthrone Rendmaster, Rotigus, 10 Plague Bearers, 2 Beasts of Nurgle. What a phenomenal inclusion if you're taking a million Plague or great and clean ones. Obviously, already probably one of the best data sheets in the faction, and like I would say in contention, up there for like data sheets in 40k. Priests of Nurgle, for their points value, the stats that you get on the top line are ridiculous. Like, hey man, you have to point an entire like anti-tank battery at me to kill me, and if you don't, you do nothing, and you have achieved nothing on your turn, which is crazy. And then pushing them to T10 with a nearby great unclean one is a huge breakpoint for them, because it means that like a lot of little light stuff that can punch through their invulnerable save now wins on 6s, so they actually bounce. We're running 12 Blood Crushers plus a Fleshhound unit, double War Dog Carnivores. This list is all gas, no brakes. What are we gonna do? Shoot you with a gun? I have 3 flamethrowers, 4 if you count the Fleshhounds, and 2 Havoc multi-launchers on the top of the War Dog Carnivores. Literally everything else is melee. Wild. I don't know if I have much else to say about that. So Rendmaster could buff the Blood Crushers. The downside is that they're kind of inconsistent, basically regardless of what you're attacking. The strength, even with the Rendmaster, only goes up to 6 on the sword attack. They do have their lance attack on the mount, but the lance attack is only weapon skill 4. And we don't have any way to buff that, so they're just hitting on 4s and hoping for the best. It is Lance, which is good, so it can be winning things on like probably 4-ish if they're striking into vehicles. But you need to have the Rendmaster buff and potentially even Drafted Terror to get them through a heavy armor save. So it's an interesting unit because it oftentimes feels like they really need the Rendmaster buff, but they actually don't often feel like they make the most efficient use of the Rendmaster buff. But they have so many attacks per model that like it can go a long way. You're adding a lot of like passive damage to that unit, especially if you're going into like heavy infantry. Like you super don't want to like Terminators or whatever, like Adeptus Custodes, even maybe stuff like Death Guard, like super duper don't want to see this unit because they'll just like inflict like mortal wounds, hit a Destro Terminator and kill him, wound another one, and then single conversion kills that guy, and like one dude on the top of a mount like kills the next dude in the unit, and then they flip your like LOC with the Blood Crushers themselves. It can get pretty spicy. They're wounding Destro Terminators on 3s if you don't like up toughness them or something. alongside with the Blood Crusher and the Rendmaster buff. Obviously, they go to strength 7 with Lance. One thing that a little combo I kind of like that I don't see that often is actually Flesh Hounds with Rendmasters, because the Flesh Hounds are some of the easiest to deliver melee attacks in Khorne Demons, and you can push them to very silly stats if you stack Rendmasters. Downside being that they're still kind of awkward because they're oval bases, and they don't have a baseline multi-damage like Bloodletters do, so Bloodletters are actually kind of easier to get value out of in that way, but it doesn't really matter. And then we're following that up with 2 Warlock Carnivores, which is crazy. I imagine that we just like basically strat reserve the Blood Crushers and use Rapid Ingress plays to get them in. And then basically just bully the center of the table with a combination of 2 Beasts of Nurgle, between 2 and 3 Great and Clean Ones, depending on how we're going to set up our reserves. And the Grit and Clean Ones are kind of good at just like passively clearing your screens because they have a million attacks. You can advance and charge with them if you want to. We're on the that cute double sword build for the Grit and Clean Ones. I actually have a bunch of Grit and Clean Ones that I 3D printed with 2 swords because the double sword is like so goated. So they attack up to 13 times with lethal hits. So like clipping 10 dudes is pretty easy for them. Potentially advance and charge if they need to, or just redeployment into a charge, plus a vomit attack. So they sweep infantry like nobody's business, and that can clear out like round 2, round 3. You can kill the screens that would prevent you from dropping the Blood Crushers in a position where you can just like blitz down somebody's like heavier targets with mortal wounds. I turn my phone off here, chat. I got an email. How embarrassing. Listen, smooth of brain and full of violence. Smooth of brain and bulk here. Just these big, smooth, round boys like rolling around the battlefield. Yeah, this list is super sick. One thing I think that also goes under the radar a little bit with the Grit and Clean Ones is because of their strength buff in the last data slate, in the March data slate. So they went to strength 10 on their melee attack. They can toughness reduce you, and they can draft of terror themselves. You're probably not battle shocked. Like there's a battle shock clause to that ability, but it's honestly never matters. Who cares? But you can make them AP 3 and the equivalent of strength, like you can be wounding T12 on 4. So you're the equivalent of strength 12. Lethal hits at AP 3 for D6 damage a pop. So, an Armor of Contempted Land Raider might live through that, but if you stack all the Grit and Clean One buffs on one target, a Grit and Clean One actually just kills you. You could even be +1 damage from Rodriguez as well if you fully charge all of the buffs. And that's what I think a lot of people don't give Grit and Clean Ones credit for, is just the fact that their weapon their attack profiles is much more consistent than you'd expect, because they're throwing 6 big attacks at you plus 3 little attacks. More often than not, you'll hit lethal in the little attack and punch through 2 damage to something. And then the big attack will get 1 or 2 lethals, wounds naturally 1 or 2 more times. You're handing your opponent 3 to 4 saves at AP 3 for D6, potentially D6 +1 damage. And most of the time, that's gonna clip out medium weight stuff. So I think people underestimate how much damage these guys actually do in melee, because they spent a really long time just being super tanks, and then their damage output wildly increased, which is why we're seeing them play it all by themselves, right? We don't have any buffs for them. There's no in the proverbial demonic adventuring party. We don't have a rogue. It's all paladins today, essentially. So that's a sick list. And I believe that was he lost in the finals to John Lennon, and I believe that was streamed by Warhammer. Actually, let's see if that game is on their YouTube channel, because they started dual streaming to YouTube, I believe. Oh, they did. Oh, Jets. Playing in my ear right now. A lot of the stream is just coming soon thing. Jesus, a whole hour. Okay. These are the Emperor's Children, folks. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about how this matchup actually ended up going. I think Endless Ed was Or is it Rodigus being played by the Maggotkin of Nurgle? That's a great proxy. I consider doing that myself. He's actually perfect because he has the hand like flamer option as well. It was on hidden supplies. So if Emperor's Children could set the line of scrimmage, who went first? If they could set the line of engagement, looks like Emperor's Children are top of turn. So John went first, which I imagine means that he could movement block quite a bit with Tormentors and place Rhinos into awkward positions. This list doesn't have a good answer for Rhinos. It has to kill them with guns plus a Blood Crusher charge, and then it might be able to get the Blood Crushers into the unit, but it doesn't really matter because you can't amp them with the Rendmaster against the Embarked unit if you kill them, unless you kill them at the start of the fight phase or by the start of the fight phase. And if you don't kill them, then the dude inside's probably going to kick the crap out of you. They do have some funny play into Lucius, though. If you can plink Lucius for a couple wounds, you might be able to kill him. Oh, no, it's Coterie they conceded. They have a 4+ field opening against mortal wounds. I'm now realizing. Oh, no, that's actually brutal. Oh, no, that does hamstring a significant amount of the damage here. Yeah, that's actually probably a disaster. Because the Great Unclean Ones can fight through the infantry and the demon engines, the Mauler Fiends eventually, but they really want to be inflicting mortal wounds on the hard targets like the Demon Princes. And if they just get blanked by 4+, then it sucks. Or they can't kill through a Rhino. There's a Rhino on the top left here that they're probably having trouble getting through because they have to kill it with a Great Unclean one. Awkwards. This was chapter approved. Yeah, I believe that this whole weekend was chapter approved. I saw some comments being about how that was the case or something, but I didn't see any events that didn't run chapter approved, or at least most recent patch. Yeah, so then they couldn't quite get through the super tough stuff. Looks like Lucius is in the center of the table, being a dickhead. There's one Demon Prince pushing forward that hasn't. It's looks like they're having trouble dealing with. And they just get to keep do whatever they want all the time because I imagine that the Blood Crushers don't have the counter punch that they really need to have. Unfortunate chat. That's actually probably a really bad matchup. Hey guys, I have my mid AP, mid strength Greater Demon list into oh cool, the guys who are 4+ feel no pain. Sick, I love that.
Michael Allen, fist emoji, donated $4.99 through Super Chat. GW can figure out Chaos but not Space Marines. Top 4 list was Chaos, but it is a struggle playing SM except maybe BAATM.
I'm gonna level with you. First of all, thank you for the super chat. I can't imagine that that's entirely the case. That Space Marines have literally no play. Also, I don't know. I saw some people who are on the video earlier today who are very salty about the status of Space Marines right now, and they were like, "Oh, obviously, Space Marines can't win anything. They suck, or whatever. What a terrible time." And they've just spent the last literally 7 months being super dominant, and now they're slightly less dominant, and there's still a trillion factions behind them. And so I don't know, you just have to play up a little bit now. I don't want to sound callous or anything, but I don't know if I'm that upset about it. I just submitted a Space Marine list to a tournament, by the way. I'm not speaking as someone who is gonna write off Space Marines entirely. I think the new Space Wolf stuff's really cool, and I'm gonna play a couple games with that. But I think that there's still play in that faction. I mean, it's so deep, right? There's so many different directions you can go, and I think the fact that Ultramarines aren't just hyper competitive, up a top echelon, top of the metagame stuff. It doesn't mean that the faction's necessarily unplayably terrible. I think that a lot of people gravitated to new stuff, and that there's definitely going to be a growing an adjustment period to we're basically getting like between the March update and now, we've gotten like essentially like 5 codexes released, right? Between like a demon rework, we got like Emperor's Children, World Eaters, Death Guard, Thousand Suns, Chaos Knights. It's like 6 factions. So like there's a lot of a readjustment to happen. And I think that they're going to find a way. Also, I'm sure it will look a lot better once Death Guard maybe get kicked in the shins. Like, can we fucking upcharge Deathshot Terminators and Fetid Blowtrones already? Because I think that they're killing a lot of other factions that would be competitive if they weren't just like dominating top tables. That's I will say probably the biggest.
Bucket of Steel Cable donated $6.99 through Super Chat. Space Marine players complaining that they weren't top 5 for a week yet make me laugh as an Admech player.
Yeah, that was like kind of the thought as well. Like seeing people's like salty comments about the status of Space Marines for literally 1 week. 1 week they didn't win a GT, and like the sky is literally falling. When in fairness, it was a week where there were also like a lot of team events happening. So a lot of like really strong Space Marine players went over to play team events. So like I don't know. I don't think it's doom and gloom quite yet, chat. And I think it's just gonna get better for them. First of all, Chaos Knights are coming. You want to talk about the factions that are about to get absolutely dumpstered? Chaos Knights are coming out, and their entire codex is being redefined to focus on super heavies. Are you kidding me? Gilliman's just like out there like ready to go. He's like, I'm about to kill 2 knights in 1 turn, boys. Let's go. These Vindicators about to pop off, bro. And like I think you kneecap Death Guard a little bit, and I think it's gonna be good. I don't know. I don't see the doom and gloom quite as much as maybe Space Marine players do. Ultramarines are good. Well, I think that Blood Angels are I would say great right now. I watched Blood Angels. We took like a pan around Blood Angels on one of the final games over the weekend, and Blood Angels like basically took Death Guard and rolled it into a little tiny ball and then threw it into like just spiked it into the trash can from across the room. It was crazy. It was like 3 turns in and they were 20-0'd. It was wild. I think Blood Angels are going to be great. I definitely still think that there's Ultramarine play. We actually saw some Ultramarine players be very successful at the team events over the weekend, and we've even seen Ultramarine players win GTs post errata. It just didn't happen this particular week, so I don't know. I think Ultramarines are still good. People are still rocking Gilliman, Calgar. They just have like a couple SCP, but they get an extra scout unit, so it feels like a pretty good trade. Oh, I don't know, chat. Oh, what happened to my... Yeah, I just noticed. What happened to my stream title here, chat? Oh, weird. I apologize. I made a stream for tomorrow, and I guess YouTube just put that one as live. Let me change the stream title here, chat. I'll just... That's really awkward. That's one of my my pet peeves with the YouTube like interface is that I like that it lets you like pre-schedule streams, but it can sometimes like fuck up really bad. It used to be that if I had 2 streams, they fixed this bug, which was good. But it used to be that if I had 2 streams scheduled, I straight up wouldn't like get my chat. Like I wouldn't be able to read chat if I had 2 streams scheduled. If I had a future stream scheduled and was streaming separately, I just wouldn't get chat at all. Which was weird. Yeah, but that fortunately has been fixed. Thanks for pointing that out, by the way, though, chat. I'll just have to reschedule my stream tomorrow. Cool. Yeah, we are moving. The reason that that's relevant is that we are moving to 2 p.m. time slot for the Tuesday streams because people. It seems like I ran a poll and a lot of people really wanted to run it a little bit later in the day, so that's what we're going to be trying this week. Ill-tempered Fireblade in chat. What's up, my dude? All right, let's talk about some other factions. I don't want to talk about Death Guard right now, but we do have some Thousand Suns, we have some Necrons, we have some Adepta Sororitas. There is also, I believe, another 7-1 Necrons. Also, World Eaters. Also, Drukhari over here with a 7-1 Drukhari finish. Is it Reaper's Wager? We'll find out in a moment. Let's talk about John McAfee. Is that real? Is that his real name? No way. What if it's actually like the John McAfee? He's back from the dead or whatever. Running Star Shatter Arsenal with double Catan shards. That's been such a trend. I wonder what the deal is. I guess they're really resilient to 2 damage attacks. So if you're throwing like DST into them, they actually just like tank it. Because they're -1 damage into a 4-up, 5-up, and then they just like sweep the whole unit in the crackback. So that's actually probably really difficult for like a lot of those like mass 2 damage melee profiles to deal with. So that actually makes kind of a ton of sense. That's fascinating, especially because like in most of the detachments now, they have almost literally no synergy, like whatsoever.
Bucket of Steel Cable donated $6.99 through Super Chat. Could we take a look at Keaton Day's Admech list? Also, Sean Clancy's T-Suns list looks hilarious.
Is that a player at the event? Striking out here, chat. Let's look at all of them. Hey, yeah, we can take a peek after we finish this list. Yeah, we can take a look. Scar1 Battle Master. I know. Yeah, he got highest battle points. It was really funny because I was on Scari's channel or his Facebook page or whatever. I don't remember. Earlier today, I was just like poking around, and he had pictures of him with this trophy, and he has like the cool Warhammer logo, or John Lennon has the Warhammer logo as like a cutout, and then all the other players get this like cool like sculpted trophy, and one of the comments was like, oh, so John Lennon wins the whole thing, it's the shittiest trophy. I was like, oh boy, like maybe he won all his games but not how GW wanted him to. Like, we want you to be best painted or like win highest kills or whatever instead of just like going undefeated. I thought that was really funny. But when you looked at the two together, because like Scary got this trophy in this like custom foam case that all sealed up so he could like put it on his plane or whatever. And John Lennon's like holding out this laser cutout basically. I was like, oh, I get it. It looks a little bit more like refined, the Warhammer logo one, but like you could put that one on a shelf and people would be like, oh, that's neat. It kind of looks like modern art. Versus this thing that's like clearly a nerd thing, but it is funny that it did look like significantly like there's like less effort put into it. I wonder if we can find that. I'm gonna see if I can find that picture actually. Let's pay Scary a quick visit here. All right, here's his cool trophy. Look at this cool trophy. It's a Terminator. It's half a Terminator and half a Tyranid, or a Neurotyrant, or a Tyranid Warrior, or something. I don't know. Some sort of Tyranid. Doesn't look like a real Tyranid, but that's okay. And then it goes into a wooden sealed box with custom foam in it. And then John Lennon gets this like just a cutout they made on like their laser cutter. I think so. And then there's the comment. It's this guy come John gets the worst looking trophy. Oh, congratulations on him too. During the awards ceremony, announcers said that John Lennon had qualified for Worlds like 17 times. Yeah, I mean that sounds about right. John. The proportion of events that Like the Venn diagram events that John Lennon signs up to and the events that he wins is basically a circle. It's like you would be hard pressed to argue that he's not the best Warhammer 40k player in the world. I don't even know if it's like even particularly close. But yeah, that was a funny comment that got me. I laughed pretty hard. But huge congratulations, obviously, to all these guys. We're doing well. I got inky hair in my mouth, chat. Yucky. Anyway, we're back to Necrons. We got Technomancer, TSK, the big man himself. No Canoptic Command Barge. Triple Scarab Swarms. Wraith, so that we're pushing with the Technomancer, so the Scarab Swarms can act as utility. This is a really interesting mechanic. I think we're going to see this coming out of Space Wolves as well, because they have literally an identical mechanic with their new Fenrisian Wolf stuff, where if they can put a character next to them, the unit becomes relevant as a utility unit, but until then, they're OC0. And I really like that as a way to make these little units like relevant to the battlefield without like dramatically undercharging them. They want to avoid like the Nurgling problem, where Nurglings are just like this insane like boatload of stats and special abilities for basically free, which is the only way they were like, you know, super playable as OC0 models. But you look at OC0 for the rest of the game, like, oh, CSM Chaos Spawn, Tyranid Ripper Swarms, like all this stuff that is just literally not played because it has no scenario relevance or very little scenario relevance. And that mechanic where it requires some sort of trigger to gain an OC value, I think is a really clever way to overcome that. Obviously, it's been in Necron since the beginning of the edition, but it's been taking them this long to like figure out to implement it on other stuff, which I think would be cool. Like imagine if Ripper Swarms like gained OC1 when they were within 6 of a Synapse creature or something. Like suddenly, like we can play these guys now. It's like a little free, like a super cheap utility thing. Still not very good because they're slow as fuck, but I don't know. Definitely playable. Folger, Pyle, and Olivier Weiss. Yeah, I mean Folger is world champion currently, right? Which is like you have to put him in the discussion for sure. He doesn't have the consistency that Lennon does, I think. Olivier, part of the problem is that I think that there's a little bit of a bias towards like UK and US events because that's where a lot of the coverage gets pointed. So Olivier, I think definitely like is up there. It's just that like personally, I know speaking personally, like I don't see a lot of his results or a lot of his games that often. But I know every time he shows up, like, you know, WTC War Masters, or when he travels to the UK, he just absolutely kills it. So yeah, I think it's definitely in the conversation for sure. Last year, John Lennon was the best player. Yeah, that's for sure. I think there were definitely the World Championship title was it was funny that they didn't like it didn't get best of 3 like it did the previous year against Manichima, which I think would have been like a pretty interesting would have been interesting to see that if Lennon could beat out Folger in a best of 3, because it did seem like, you know, that was the world-ending go turn was Folger Pyle's go turn into John Lennon in the 2024 World Champs, because he basically just like revealed his whole army and then took no casualties and was like, "Here we go, boys," which is that's a good way to win World Championships, that's for sure. But obviously, he's like a ridiculously strong player. I don't want to take anything away from him, but it is funny that Warhammer 40k can sometimes just get decided, or not decided, but like influenced pretty heavily by dice. I do think that was a game where that happened. But watching Folger into other matchups too is like wild. You see matchups where you're like, oh man, this one might go poorly for Adeptus Custodes. He turns around and is like just tails his opponent in, you know, 3 turns or whatever. And you're like, how did you do that? You don't even have that many models. You're killing models you can't even see. I don't understand. Rounding out this list real quick, it's double Doomsday Arc, Triarch Stalker as well. So yeah, I mean, just rocking the Catan Shards. Can you? Here's a question. I believe that you can end of turn reanimate them in Star Shatter Arsenal, right? And that's, I think, like the entirety of the synergy. Yeah, any non-Titanic Necron unit within range of an objective marker you control, end of your fight phase, can reanimate. So you do have the potential. Do we have a reanimator in this list? No. So you do have the potential to double reanimate the Catan Shards. So they can't just survive for 1,000,000 years. Which is, I guess, what we're doing. Oh, and they can reactive move in response to shooting as well. That's actually just non-Titanic. Okay. Okay. So they don't get... Yeah, they don't really care about the +1 to hit thing. I guess it like lets them shoot at stuff engaged without like penalty or whatever, but that's very rare that it matters. Oh, it also pushes through... Oh, man. Are we just like messing Death Guard up super hard here? It pushes through the -1 to hit contagion. So if a Death Guard unit's on an objective and they're presenting -1 to hit on you, you're like, you just cancel it out and then kill them. Plus, you can reactive move to either keep yourself safe or to gain board presence with them. So, like, for example, if you, like, run up to, close to an objective, your opponent shoots you but doesn't kill you, you just, like, reactive move onto the objective, and then... Oh, I guess you can't reanimate end of your opponent's fight phase. It's only yours. But then you're on the objective and you can, like, wander around and heal yourself. All right, chat. I get it. I understand. These guys seem actually kind of goated in this detachment, especially in this metagame. That's a really, really smart take. I understand it now. Not something you go around bragging about? Being the world champion of Warhammer? Okay. I think we, I think that's still pretty neat. All right, we want to talk about Keaton Day and Adeptus Mechanicus. Is he the highest ranked Adeptus Mechanicus player? That would make me sad. M. Shanicus is what we got. Adeptus Mechanicus. Oh, he is. Oh no, Keegan Marshall. We have a 4 or 5-3 Admech, if you want to take a peek at that, but we asked about this one. Keaton running. Uh-oh. I think I know where this is going, chat. Double-sided Venetica Datasmith. Interesting. Okay. So Belisarius Call. It's a Halo Screen Battleclade. Double-sided Venetica Datasmith. The Skitari Marshal with cognitive reinforcement. So the double Doctrine Imperatives. Jesus, I am tired. Another Skitari Marshal, Rangers, double Vanguard, 1 Scorpius Dune Rider. There they are, boys. So Kastelan Robots X2, a 4 and a 2 unit. So I guess the question is, so one has the opportunity to get transoracular dyad wafers. So that is your permanent Halo override. The other one could take Sanctified Ordnance for the additional range. I believe that you can attach both Datasmith models to the Kastelan robots, so we could, if we wanted to, do both. So extend range of the Incendine Combustor and then also Halo override them. I don't know if that's what they did, but that is a really funny way to get multiple enhancements into this unit. So, and each one of them allows you to take a protocol. Oh, no, just kidding. The second protocol doesn't do anything. Dang. So it's literally just the double enhancer.
Brian
if you
G
wanted it.
donated $5 through Super Chat. The DG list building experience, well, I built to 1,200 points. Oh cool, now I can take 1 million Admech pointed units that actually do damage.
Yeah, for sure. Being world champion of almost anything is kind of cool. Yeah, I don't disagree, for sure. That's always that's the question you always get whenever you tell people like, oh, I play this like game competitively, or I do this thing competitively, and they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, you play tournaments? You're like, yeah, and like, do you win? And if you're like, yes, I won the world championships against like 500 other people. That's pretty cool. Like, I don't know. It almost doesn't matter what it is. Like, you know, you could be like a like competitive tiddlywinks player or something, and I think that's like going to be pretty impressive. I wonder how many people are in the world championships of tiddlywinks. It looks like 100, I guess, if I'm reading this stat sheet correctly. Format had Ordnance, so 18-inch Overwatch with D6 plus 8 flamers. Yeah, because you can do the +2 attack protocol. Next week's stream, yeah, we're going down. We're breaking down Tiddlywinks. We're becoming a Tiddlywink channel. We're Tactical Tiddlywinks now. No more tortoises anymore. It's only Tiddlywinks. Well, first of all, super neat. We have double Taraxi Skystalkers, the big Rust Stalker unit for stabbing people, 2 little Infiltrator units, and double Scorpius Disintegrator. So the rest of the list is fairly standard stuff for Halo Screed. Just these 6 big ole idiot Kastelan robots. So the nice thing about them in Halo Screed Battleclade is that all of the Halo Screed abilities are very good on them. +2 movement, +1 toughness. Advance and charge is okay if you also have... It's a little weird because it kind of feels like you want the Assault Doctrina to be active, Conquer Imperative. But I guess if you have Conquer Imperative active anyway, then you get your hit bonus in melee. You don't care about the hit bonus in shooting because you're Torrent anyway, so like who gives a crap? And then you can advance, shoot, and charge. So the potential damage from the unit's actually pretty high. And you could be like kind of tough to kill, especially if you overload them for D3 mortals, which is not great to take on these guys because they're randomly like not that many wounds, which feels bad. But it does. It also assigning wounds like before your opponent targets them is kind of annoying because it can determine where attackers can be when they attack them. The unit's like very weird to play on the battlefield, on the tabletop, because each one of them, it's basically 4 like almost Rhino chassis stapled together. And so your opponent like lines up their anti-tank, and if you have a wounded model, they just line their anti-tank up on the next model over, and then they're guaranteed to if all their guns can shoot, they could kill 2 Kastelans because you can't like pull out a line of sight or anything. So like it's a little bit weird. But if you do that, you can be like -1 to hit with their invuln, with their reflected mortals, with +1 toughness. Like that's kind of neat. Or just make them really fast. So I'm actually oh, I guess you can't put cognitive reinforcement on them because that actually would be kind of sweet too. But that's illegal. We have to put it on a Skitari unit. Sag. Very sag. But I don't know. Sweet list. It's unfortunate I didn't do better, but it is what it is. Get your squidgers ready? Is that a Tiddlywinks term? Are you schooling me on Tiddlywinks right now, chat? I've never heard of squidgers. Oh, thanks, GitHub. What is the definition of a squidger? I'm glad that GitHub can tell me. A squidger is a disc no thicker than 5 millimeters at any point. ETWA. English Tiddlywinks Association. and they're debating like particular rules and stuff. I love it. Chat. One of my favorite. Oh, I don't have my screen up. Actually, sorry. Let me showcase what I'm looking at. One of my favorite things about humans, like in general, is the human capacity to turn literally anything into a competitive sport. It's like we are so evolved to be like hyper competitive for resources or whatever that like we're not happy unless literally anything we can do at the expense of other humans. And I don't know. It's like to some extent, it's kind of endearing that we've like directed a lot of this evolutionary energy into debating at length the particular millimeter thickness of our tiddlywinks discs. I don't know. It's just an observation. I think humans are so cute sometimes. PvE is overcoming our evolutionary programming. Maybe, well, not necessarily, because PvE is it's a collective it's like a collective combat against it's like a unified like collective battle against an enemy, right? An encroaching enemy, which is like any PvE game, you know what I mean? It almost doesn't matter like what you're doing or what you're like, you know, what you're fighting or what you're doing is like it's like still sort of at the heart. It's this like tribalist combat, but I don't know. Favorite sport will always be curling. Curling is funny because it does look funny. Competitive shoe tying? That's got to be a thing, right? That there's no way that there's not a race for that. I'm imagining like those Rubik's Cube competitions where they have like a huge timer and there's a judge who like very carefully does it. Who very carefully chat, we've we found it, chat. I don't think this is capturing the audio here. This is a shoe tying Olympics. That was like a shoe tying competition for elementary schoolers. Oh, I guess they just Razor ran one. You can win like shoes by doing competitive shoe tying. Incredible. So there you go, chat. Even if it doesn't have a international circuit, competitive shoe tying is a thing to some extent, I guess. It seems like mostly for children. World Championships of shoemaking. Competitive shoemaking? That's fucking cool. This is the most tactical tangent of tangents we've been on in a long time, chat. And also the website might be dead, I guess. It's not loading. How to tie a shoe. Yeah, I don't care about that. I want to see the World Championships of shoemaking. In order to make these shoes, they have to have tied them, right? So to some extent, this is a shoe tying competition. Look at these dapper gentlemen who are competitive shoe tiers. Oh, thank you for the follow over on Twitch. I appreciate that. Incredible. All right, chat. Anyway, let me tell you what's almost as difficult as winning world championships with tying shoes is getting a positive win record with Kastelan robots. Unfortunately, it went 4-4. So just dead even on the Kastelan robots list, but that is a cute list. Website got more than one request in the last hour. This is a pretty polished website. I bet it just had a bunch of scripts running that were unnecessary. Should we talk about Drukhari? We got Skari over here. Rocking some Drukhari. Reaper's Wager. So the funniest journey has been watching Skari's battle, like his eternal conflict, like not to play Reaper's Wager, because I've watched some of his content in the past and he's been like, oh no, I don't want to play it. Like, I don't think the detachment ability is that good. Like, I get more value out of Sky Splinter Assault, and dude fucking loves Sky Splinter Assault. Which, to be fair, he put up a lot of results with it, so I guess that makes sense. But Games Workshop was like, all right, Skari, just gonna give your whole fucking army reroll hits. Will that make you play our Grotsmith detachment? He's like, fine, I guess I'll play like the most straightforward detachment ability in the entire game. Reroll ones to hit. Sometimes you get reroll ones to wound. Is he even playing Harlequins? A Death Jester. You love to see it. He's like, all right, fine. You got me. I will play this one Death Jester. So occasionally I can flip the wager back. I got a one dude on one wound left. The Death Jester's like, kill that guy. We did it. I'm winning the wager. Woo! Like Drukhari are actively tabling their opponent, and the one Death Jester has killed like one Scout Marine. And he's like, it's me, and he's doing the meme with the guy on the podium on like third place, and everyone else is just looking at him, and he's like, pouring champagne all over himself and biting his medal and whatever. And the whole Drukhari army's like, all right, man. You did it, boss. Good job. We're proud of you. So we have an Archon Arch Raider. So the big boy scout on first turn if you're embarking on transport. Double Beastmaster. So lots of scouting energy today. Drezhar. Lilith Hesperex, Irian Rekarth, just the absolute triumvirate of powerful characters here. Cool to see Drasar. He's kind of like not very great in Sky Splinter Assault because he gives you +1 to wound for your incubi, but they just get it for disembarking a transport in that detachment, so he's like very rarely worth it. But obviously in this detachment, +1 to wound is phenomenal, especially because you can give them advance and charge, so they're actually on the ground, they're relatively fast threat range. We have Cavalite Warriors, which is triple Venom, Kronos, double Grotesques, a Hellion unit. Man, Hellions are 15 points now? Hot diggity damn. Just a big disruption piece that's fast and has multi-damage weapons and a bunch of shooting. It seems pretty good. Incubi unit for Drasar to hop into. Double Mandrakes, a Ravager. Double Scourges, 1 Dark Lance, 1 Haywire Blaster, plus the Death Jester. I wonder, like, the Haywire Blaster does get a little bit of a leg up if you can flip the wager to the Scourges, because getting reroll 1s to wound on an anti-vehicle devastating gun is actually kind of sweet. Because the proportion of failed wounds that you're rerolling is actually relatively high for a weapon that's already wounding on 4s. So rerolling 1s to wound on them, if you can turn on the wager with the Death Jester before you go to shoot with the Scourges, could actually be interesting. We don't have a Conductor of Torment though, so there's no other way to flip the wager. We just have to get kills with the DJ, I guess. So I guess that's fine. Talk about some World Eaters momentarily here, folks. If it's Berserker Warband, I'm gonna go to sleep. Okay, it is. It's funny how World Eaters like have come full circle, where they were like, "Hey guys, you're a Berserker Warband list," and everyone's like, "Okay, that's fair, I guess." And they're like, "And you're gonna play 6 Slaughterbound or 6 8-bound, and you're gonna play like Invocatus or whatever." And they're like, "Okay," and they're like, "All right, no, new codex. Don't play that list anymore. We've made all of your stats worse, and released all these like weird demon mechanics and stuff, and shooting." And the World Eaters community was like, "Oh, cool. I'll play Forge Fiends and Demons and whatever." And then, like, slowly but surely just morphed back into their index. They're just an index faction again. Like, we're all the way back. So it's Helm of Brazen Ire, Demon Prince, Karn the Betrayer, Master of Executions with Favor. That's interesting. Don't often see that on the MOE. because you need him on the battlefield, so he's not eligible to be delivered by a transport if you want to get the benefit of the Favorite of Khorne enhancement, but still useful. Double Khorne Berserkers, 2 units of 10, 1 chaos right now, because one of the Berserker units is just going to be hanging out on the battlefield to proc that Favorite of Khorne to send the other stuff in, but we don't super need the delivery system if we're just advancing and charging, because we can just do that in this detachment. 3x2 chaos spawn. All right, did some actions with those guys. Yeah, there's all the 8-bound, double 8-bound, 1 exalted, double forge fiend, jackals. Yeah, this is like 80% of the normal list. Fair enough, Chance. It certainly is a list. There was some Thousand Suns, I believe, that we should talk about. A little bit of Death Guard. So this is so that was bracket 1. All the X1s in bracket 1. There was a higher proportion, I think, in bracket 1 because everybody there got was already undefeated at the point that we got to the top cut. Aiden McFowl running Thousand Suns at 7-1 for bracket 2. This is a Magnus list. By the way, it's really cool. Magnus seems so powerful. Like watching him just like sort of like wander around battlefields and obliterate people over the weekend was pretty wild. But it definitely is very cool that there are a lot of alternatives inside the detachment. In fact, this list is running 2 big winged demon boys. We have Magnus the Red and the Eldritch Vortex Demon Prince of Tzeentch. So that guy gets the interesting thing about him is that he can get his sustained D3 when he arrives from reserve. And then if you're not full rerolling on Magnus, you can full reroll on him and extend your range. So he can hop and then full reroll to try to fish for sustained D3s and then fish for either dev or +1 to wounds with his psychic power, and those are all at 2 damage. Strength 5, 2 damage. They're basically like shooting the world's most weird heavy bolter. And for a unit that's going to 6-inch deep strike and get into weird positions on the table and then potentially move itself with Temporal Surge, that guy can do some serious damage with that thing. We have an Incandeum Exalted Sorcerer, so we can get an extra Doom Bolt out. Good for a big go turn in order to get some additional mortal wounds through. We have a Sorcerer with Umberlific Crystal for the up-down, Zangor Shaman for utility, another Sorcerer just for shooting and stuff. Interesting, we've, I guess, moved almost entirely away from Infernal Masters. I think everybody's just on the Sorcerers now. The Sorcerers, they don't have the staying power that Infernal Masters do, but you often don't need that because like you just assume that they're going to die anyway. So being a once per game kind of nuclear missile because of their once per game ability to improve their strength and attacks is not that big of a deal because like you're just assume that they're going to die immediately after they commit regardless. We've got 20 Rubric Marines, so we have places for all of the Sorcerers to attach. In fact, I think more than enough, right? Because we have double Sorcerer and Exalted, and we have 4 units of Rubric Marines, so there's just a utility Rubric Marine unit. Oh yeah, there's an Infernal Bolt Gun unit, so they can sit in the back and then like pipe in some damage if they need to as well. It's interesting, like the Infernal Bolt Gun had got such a glow up in the new Codex, but it's just because its volume isn't quite as high as Warp Flamers for your it's 2 Infernal Bolt Gun units. Interesting. I wonder if we're attaching the Sorcerers to them, because the Sorcerers grant lethal hits, which has no relevance for the Flamers, but the Sorcerers themselves are shooting at long range. And one thing I noticed is that like once your range becomes 18 or higher from the Psychers, oftentimes they are outpacing their Warp Flamers anyway, and then you're just not shooting with the rubrics they're attached to, unless it's like Umberlific Crystal Guide, where you can put your units wherever you want. So that guy might just be in there because he can sling shots like extra distance downrange, and then he grants lethal hits, so the Infernal Bolt Guns have a non-zero chance of getting some damage through, and they're effectively like AP3-ish because they're AP2 ignore cover at a baseline, and then also could potentially benefit from Chest of Fate to get to AP 3 or 4 ignore cover, which is like the equivalent of AP 4 or 5. So every one of those shots that lethals is almost certainly a wound. You're averaging like 2-ish wounds even into toughness 8 or higher, assuming you're rerolling wound rolls, and that is that's I don't know, that's something at least. Rolled Snake Eyes for shots too many times. Yeah, just we're just rocking sorcerers. Yeah, at least I do appreciate that they changed the sorcerer from being also a random shot weapon, because last in Index it was 2d6 sustain 3. Now it's just flat 6, which made it like a potential higher upside than Infernal Masters, but less consistency, which you didn't super love, which isn't that great. I did run them, but I think I only ran them because at the very beginning of the edition, I already had like 3 Infernal Masters in my list. And at that point, I just started taking sorcerers to shoot out of the top of rhinos and stuff. Can't do that anymore, though. We have a Zangor unit, a Fatecaster Greatbow Enlightened unit. There's no disc sorcerer, so they're just hanging out, I guess. Oh, we can put the Shaman in there, actually, to give them +1 to hit. So that's interesting. Yeah, they also give him a reactive move, so he can go out and cast spells, and then if your opponent comes up to fight him, he just runs away, which is kind of neat. Second Fatecaster Greatbow unit, third Fatecaster Greatbow unit, it's double Mulith Vortex Beast, and a Sekitar Robots unit. Mike Buzini played Sekitar Robots in one of GT this weekend as well, which I was interested by. I'm curious to see Sekitar on the table. They do like they're very difficult to engage with on turn 1, because they're kind of a beefy body. And then, like, 2 flamers with free Overwatch is, like, not really something you want to fight. So they're just, like, hanging out in a ruin, and you're like, I guess they live there. I don't particularly want to attack them or come close with my, like, whatever, like, Reductus Saboteur. So I guess they can hold the objective. So that's kind of cute. I don't know. We have some more Necrons. Necrons sort of keeping the dream alive over here. Awakened Dynasty this time. The Catacomb Command Barge. Interesting. Illuminar Sarah's Orcan the Diviner. Royal Warden with Netherrealm Casket. So we're gonna build out a Silvertide, a big 20 brick of Necron Warriors. 1 Scorpic Lord with Dermal Bond. 2nd Scorpic Lord, Technomancer. There's the 20 Necron Warriors. So they have Stealth plus 4+ Invulnerable Save from Oracan. The Ghost Arc? No. Just Doomsday Arcs. Reanimator will reanimate them. They can reactively reanimate thanks to the detachment ability, and they can reanimate with the Resurrection Orb from the Command Barge, so you get access to potentially 3 resurrections in a turn to keep them topped up. And then the Catacomb Command Barge makes them OC3, and they can fall back and shoot. So they'll live on an objective. You have to put like your whole army onto the objective to stop them from holding it. And obviously, like normal Necron stuff, if you attack them and don't kill them, they're just going to reanimate back to full. Canoptic Wraith units, Flayed Ones, Ophidian Destroyers, double Scorpex. So normal stuff otherwise. It's cool to see. I like that Necron Warriors are seeing play now. And I'm glad that it's not like the really degenerate version that they played when the Codex originally released, where it was like 1 trillion units with Chronomancers just like literally on every single objective constantly. Brendan McKenzie printing Adepta Sororitas. Hallowed Martyrs is the play here. That's fascinating. I have seen so many Adepta Sororitas lists that all seem great recently, and it feels like the faction hasn't been rediscovered quite yet. Because I think Champions of Faith, which was like the only competitive list prior to the June update, has been like dramatically improved, and I'm surprised that we haven't. I guess like we don't have that many results in just yet, but I'm surprised that we haven't seen more play with that detachment. Hallowed Martyrs also still good, and I played on stream recently against a Bringers of Flame list that was legitimately super cool, and it was all Sanctifiers and Dominion squads and Immolators, and it was horrifying. There were no special characters, a single character model, and everything else was combat squads that just covered the table. Combat squads and dedicated transports, and I was like, this makes me want to vomit. I hate it. Thank you. And that was pretty wild. We've got Demonifuge, Junith, Eruita, Morbin Val, Triumphant St. Catherine, triple Canoness, triple Canoness, hot diggity damn. Okay, one of them has Saintly Example, so when she dies, we'll generate Miracle Dice. And then we can, obviously, Divine Intervention, any of these ladies to keep them going to hold on to objectives for a really long time. So the Canonesses, like, oftentimes will rock in, they'll pop their, like, 2+ invulnerable save to your shooting, tank the shooting with saves and Miracle Dice, and then you'll charge something, they'll, like, intervene, Suffering and Sacrifice, you'll kill them, and then they'll Divine Intervene, and they'll just pop back up. And so they're the most annoying little, like, utility idiots. And sometimes you even just, like, put them on a middle objective and say, like, hey, would you like to expose something valuable to kill them? And your opponent's like, no, not really. And then they don't, and then your Canoness just lives naturally because they're so difficult to deal with that most armies, like, just don't even bother. If you don't have, like, 1 trillion attacks in 2 phases and... like devastating wounds to get through the invuln, which you almost nobody can do in a way that doesn't trade so far down in terms of like material that it doesn't typically matter. The days of me yelling to the void about how broken Awakened Dynasty was, I know, right? Pepperidge Farm remembers. That was mostly Index Awakened Dynasty. Index Awakened Dynasty was wild when Lichguard were like passively -1 to be wounded and could have like 2 characters and a Cryptek and 2 Cryptothralls and reanimate like 3 times. That was insane. You basically you essentially couldn't interact with them almost entirely. They were uninteractable for most armies. It was wild. It was because of how broken Index 10th edition was so insane. Because of how broken Eldar was, like all this stuff flew under the radar. Thousand Suns were super broken. The Necrons were super broken. Chaos Space Marines were super broken. And because at that point, if you weren't explicitly Eldar or Genestealer cults, it didn't matter what you did. Maybe to a lesser extent Space Marines, but they were like far distant third. All that stuff flew under the radar, and they spent like 6 months extricating the meta from all that stuff. Freaking wild, dude. They went down to Forge Fiends. I mean, if you're lucky, right? You're like full of rerolls. I guess like if you hit the Devastates, you get them, right? Because you're like 3 shots at +2, so you average 12. I guess if you fully comboed them out and you were like rerolling ones to hit, or hit rerolls from Abaddon, like critical 5-up sustain lethal, you could probably kill them. But I don't know. Honestly, I feel like, and I was playing original Tyranids. Yeah, fucking holy shit. I remember putting up, maybe this is colored white. Like, I always fucking talk about how much I hate stupid Genestealers and Broodlords and stuff. And I remember very distinctly, like, playing a game where a whole Broodlord brick charged a Lichguard unit, and killed, like, one of them, I think. And I was like, this is trash. And then just died, like, all got killed. I think I was hoping for a big enough charge to, like, peak line of sight to the Technomancer or something to get rid of the Feel No Pain. I don't remember what the play was, but yeah, I did like literally no damage, and then the whole unit died, and I was like, this is so stupid. Oh, the other one was I pointed. It wasn't even Lichguard. I remember one of the first times I played against them, I pointed a 6-man Zoanthrope squad at with fully comboed out. It was an Exocrine headshot, a Immortal unit, and a Pyrovore had plinked them for ignore cover, and then a full 6-man Zoanthrope unit shot them. And I think at the end of my opponent's reanimation step, I had netted like 2 kills. I was like, cool, man. I'm glad we played this game out, because like basically a quarter of my army could kill like 2 models. Insane, dude. The Awakened Dynasty, like, it was because Cryptothralls had a 4+ Feel No Pain. That was a big part of it. So, like, they would eat the damage, they would die, then you would reactively reanimate them, and then they would eat the damage a second time, and then you would reanimate them at the start of your turn. Yeah, just totally wild. Totally wild. It's been a while, though. Absolutely flawless. Yeah. The best 40K's ever been, chat. We've got, rounding out this list here, we've got Battle Sister Squad, Double Arcoflagellants. Interesting thing about them sometimes is that if you're able to get multiple activations out of them, which often happens if all they do is like kill a utility squad somewhere, but they don't like expose themselves pretty like wildly, then they extremis trigger word themselves to gain hazardous to kill one of them. Because as soon as you kill Inhaled Martyrs a single Arcoflagellant, their damage output like skyrockets because they suddenly gain +1 to hit and their base weapon skill is really low. So they go insane if they can try to get themselves a single kill. That's very funny interaction. Celestian Sacrosanct, Seraphim Squad, Castigator, Paragon Warsuit, Immolator, and Rhino to carry stuff around. Who's attaching the Sacrosanct, chat? Oh, this is Palatine? Yeah, probably the through Suffering Strength lady. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Good stuff. That's basically all the X1's chats. Beyond Death Guard, obviously. Ooh. Is there anything else we want to talk about today? Pretty cool breakdown of the X and ones. Obviously, a lot of Necrons still, but Necrons feel like kind of a perennial like X1 result right now. But having Drukhari well represented, World Eaters well represented, Thousand Suns doing pretty well. Like all of that's pretty sweet. Just typical mummy
Ryan
robot
G
things.
Donated $5 through Super Chat. Speaking of, remember in the first data slate when they upped Zoanthropes 30 points for 3, Hive Tyrant went up 30 and Tyrannovex 45.
Oh, I do remember that.
All of our answers.
I do remember that. Yeah, I was like, I remember I had been playing Tyranids. I played them in like 3 consecutive tournaments because I was still playing IRL tournaments like pretty regularly at that point. Which I should get back to. It's like so hard. It's so like, oh man, a full day I could get so many video stuff done. I don't know. I think it's because live streaming is like eating so much of my time. It's basically eating all my IRL play. Anyway, I was playing like religiously RTTs at that point, and I played like 3 back-to-back, I think, with Tyranids. And I don't think I dropped a game, if I remember correctly. But I was like, this faction's cool. It's like, everything sucks. Every individual activation in this faction feels like just like, you know, trying to ice skate uphill. But because you could do actions with Spore Mines, you just scored every point. You were like, every game was like 95er if you didn't just get fucking tabled. And then occasionally you could combine all your powers, drop 3 Zone Throw units on something, and just like vaporize it with shooting. Like if you had to kill a Land Raider, you could kill a Land Raider. It would take you a while, but you could do it eventually. And then I remember when they did that, and that was the last time I'd ever played Tyranids for like ages. Ages. Until the Codex came out and I played like 5 games or something. I was like, this faction's dead. There's no way. Yeah, that was the list I was playing. I think went up like in the universe where everyone was dying to Eldar, right? You would win all your games up until you got paired with Eldar, and then you just lost. In that environment, my Tyranid list went up like 200 points. I was like, what is this, brother? It's like Gargoyles were like 65 points or 70 points on release, I think, and they went up to like 80 or 90. I had like 3 units of those. The Zoanthropes all went up, the Hive Tyrant went up, Biovore went up, literally like the entire army went up. And I was like, this faction's unplayable. You've killed it. It's dead. That was insane. That was a wild time. There was some weird bias going on there for sure, because they were anything that got spam played. So anytime that you regularly took one data sheet multiple times, they would hit that, like, regardless of what its effectiveness was. But they were like, oh, we're trying to take a really a light touch with Eldar. Meanwhile, like the world's on fire, you know, they're like the DJGW balance team's like in the house and it's on fire, and they're like, this is fine, because Eldar are killing everyone, and they're like, we should increase, like Wraith Knights should go up 20 points. You're like, come on, man. Why are you increasing, like slightly increasing fire prisms? That's not what's killing people. What are we doing here? It was very weird. What time to be alive? Yeah, 180 points. Yeah. They were 90 for 3. Were they? Yeah, they were just flat 30 points a model, right? Which, honestly, they should go back to, because that unit's really bad. I had a really interesting discussion with Nathan Cook over the weekend from Iron Inquisitors, because he was playing them. He was the only Subterranean Assault player at in the team event for Atlantic City Open, which I was shocked by. But I think a lot of teams wanted to stick with the very consistent invasion fleet, rather than like go into this weird new like experimental detachment, which I guess makes sense for team formats. But he was playing Subterranean Assault, and he was playing Zoanthropes, and I'm watching him play, and I'm like, man, every time I try to play Zoanthropes or I see Zoanthropes on the table, they do exactly one thing, and then they immediately vaporize. I was like, I don't understand how. I was like sort of running through it in my head. I was like, how is he getting value out of this unit? And I was like, oh shit, we're playing on WTC. And then we streamed his game, and he's playing on WTC. And so he can draw very consistently from his deployment zone, like 1 pixel, 1 millimeter of line of sight to something, and make it so that almost nothing can hit him back every time. And because he could often play as a defender and get table selection, he could get a lot of work out of that unit, whereas normally it's such a liability, because it's like 350 points right now if you include the Neuro Tyrant, and it's gonna get no value. You're gonna get 1 good shot out of it, and then your opponent's gonna point 1 blast weapon at it, 1 multi-damage blast weapon, and kill the entire thing. But on those specific layouts, he built his list for those specific layouts, and I had a discussion with him. He said, yeah, in US and in CA 2025 tournament companion layouts, I would not be playing this unit. I'll switch to a like Tyrannofexes or something hardier. But because you could play the line of sight game on WTC formats much more easily, this unit's goated. And I was like, that's a really interesting thought. But yeah, it's crazy how expensive Zoanthropes are right now, because the unit is not that great. Anyway, chat. Just stream a tournament that I'm playing in. I do that every day on twitch.tv/TacticalTortoise TV. But yeah, that's true. That would be so difficult, because like the setup process takes so long, and then all I would get is like a top down, right? I wouldn't be able to do camera angles or whatever. It would be much easier to set up if I didn't do any cameras besides the top down. So maybe I could do that. I don't know. The more I think about it, the recorded table ran all weekend without any problems, really. There was a couple issues, but that was fine. All right, folks. Anything else we want to discuss before I hop off here? I think I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but I will be back tomorrow at the same time frame. I just need to rebuild my rebuild my YouTube output for it, because I messed it up. I done messed it up, chat. But we'll be back for Tactical Tuesday tomorrow at 2 p.m. instead of at 10 a.m. like we normally do. And we'll either cover some of the other GTs this weekend, or we'll cover team stuff. I haven't quite decided yet what we're going to do. But that's what's going on. Anyway, folks, that is... I guess that'll be it for me. L-Tape and Fireblade in here. Rune for team events. Interesting. We can talk about how much more respect I have for the National Tabletop League format after this weekend. That could be an interesting mode of discussion, because man, NTL, they've spoiled me for team events. WTC, I love ya, but you got to get on that NTL energy, man. Holy shit. so we don't have to watch 8 consecutive supply drop games. Oof. Am I doing drone sport tonight? I was going to, and then everything took longer than I wanted to. I think what I have to do tonight, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get to live stream on Twitch, but because I think what I have to do is update T5S2 maps. We are, I'm running T5S2 maps, and there are T5S2 events, and there are some external events that are using my map pool. And the CA 2025 updates have not been implemented yet, and that is because I've been away at events for the last week. I haven't had a chance to do it. And I think I have to set aside tonight to do that. So I don't think I'm going to live stream tonight, but I will certainly be on tomorrow evening with some live streams. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for me. I think I'm going to hop off. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming. And cheers.